Hey, Twisted people, it's your girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson, aka Twisted Woman CKR, and I am joined here by my dark fantasy loving mama, Karen Robinson.
Hello,
hey.
everybody.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. For those of you who will be joining us in the live chat and those of you who are watching in the replay, it's always great to slice into the storytelling of Charmed and all storytelling as we do here. And if you haven't already, please give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe if you haven't already as well, because I love slicing into storytelling of all types and kinds. And in this particular one, we are diving into Charmed Season 3, Episode 3, and already I know some of y'all in this chat were very happy to see the return of Jimmy. Erica in the chat, who is joining us in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Erica. She said, girl, you already know my husband, Jimmy. Yes, Jimmy made a reappearance and maybe a final appearance. We don't know yet, because I've got questions about that. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of you have questions about some of the things that we saw this episode. And I think it opens some questions for the rest of the season and also some maybe conclusions for this season. Hey, Blue Wolf, thanks for joining us in the chat. And you know, I want to pose this question to y'all early on for those of you in the chat and also those of you who are watching the replay. Greatly appreciate it. Is which character were you feeling the most this episode, and which character were you not feeling as much this episode? I know some of y'all default answer for not feeling is always Abby. I know some of y'all already got the answers for y'all who y'all never feeling. But you know, we had some things happen this episode, and I overall, I kind of felt like this episode was something of a season 2 finale in a way, and maybe, or a season 3 starter. But I felt a lot of epic stuff happened to make me feel like this was kind of the season finale, kind of wrapping up certain storylines, kind of getting us ready for what the rest of season 3 is going to be like. And you know, I'm wondering, did you feel that? Did you get that same vibe that we kind of had this conclusion of things that we had in season 2 and relationships and things like that, and kind of gearing us up for what the rest of the season may feel like? What are your thoughts, lady?
Yeah, I think that's how that went, because in a way it is wrapping up everything, bring to the new beginning, so we can see a whole new episode. So yeah, I agree with you on that part.
Did you, what were your overall feelings about this episode? Were you feeling it? Did you like it? Is it your favorite so far this season? What are your thoughts?
I liked it. I liked it, you know, because the way it came on and everything. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay. I can't. Well, you know, we just got into the episode, so in a way,
just like your overall.
Yeah.
Did you love it?
I loved it. It was good for the second, for this episode, for the third one.
Yeah. And people in the chat, thank you all for joining us in the chat. It's already popping off in there. Amanda is telling us this was supposed to be the season 2 finale, and others are saying that as well, like Stephanie, who's joining us in the chat. So yeah, it felt like that. It felt like a season 2 finale, because we don't have a sense yet of who the next big bad is. And that's usually what you get in the beginning of a season, like who's the new big bad or what's the new thing to worry about. And I feel like this end of the season kind of gave us a hint of kind of conclusions about relationships and things like that. I think we're still getting a lot of slow burns, and we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the overall happenings of this episode, because I got questions and thoughts and feelings, and I'm sure all of you do too. And then, of course, we're going to talk ship talk, because we got to talk about the ships. It's always romance and love. That's the most powerful thing, sacrifice of love and things like that. And, you know, then we got to talk about our predictions of what we think the rest of the season's going to look like. And once again, keep in mind, you know, who was your favorite character this episode? Who was your least favorite? It was a little bit 2 weeks ago, because we weren't here last week. Y'all missed all of you. We were kind of really having some thoughts about Hasty and things like that, and Harry's behavior and whatnot and other things. And so it's interesting that this episode felt like they were kind of concluding things that were dangling in the air. And in some cases, they weren't addressing things that got proposed in, you know, previous episodes. But I overall really did love this episode. This was my favorite thus far of season 2-ish, 3, and probably one of my top ones of Charmed thus far, because it kind of had everything. I felt like it showed the sisters and their natural elements, you know, the heart of Maggie, the things she loves with the stars and beauty and things, kind of Mel's go-getter, take charge attitude, Macy's science and logical, analytical thinking that was a little bit vacant and not there in the previous episode when it came to Macy. So I felt like we kind of got back to basics to how the sisters are and their dynamic, and also in some of the relationships. And I really, truly, I felt like it wasn't even about all the action that happened this episode, although that was awesome. I felt like it was more so that things happened that made sense, that felt natural to the story. I never felt like anything felt contrived in this episode, you know, and that can be hard sometimes, because I felt like things last episode, it wasn't one of my favorite episodes. I felt like a lot of things were contrived, a lot of things were convoluted, and had me asking a lot of questions about certain characters that I felt were really out of character in the previous episode. And I think this episode very much rectified that for me. Did you feel that way, Ma? Did you feel like, you know, this kind of brought us back to basics with the way characters were acting and whatnot?
Yeah, I feel, you know, they're getting back to the storyline of how it's supposed to come together. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we already have in the chat people wondering if Jimmy is already dead. You know, some people feeling like they don't want him to die. Others not so sympathetic. Stephanie in the chat is saying, I honestly don't feel that bad for Jimmy if he is dead. He should have just sat there and ate his food. Yes, definitely. I actually have some questions about Jimmy's plot line. I felt like we'll talk about it. I got some questions because I'm not completely satisfied with the way that was wrapped up or however they went about it. Blue Wolf is saying, I like the way they brought back the source. The source. Yes, I thought, you know, at first I thought it was going to be kind of boring in a way, them having to figure out how to get back to the source. But it was interesting. I think this is where great storytelling comes into play, that as they were trying to figure out where the source was, each sister, we got a nice piece of who they each were and the things that they're thinking about now and who they are. So in that sense, it felt really like the source was, you know, a good plot device, but it was also a good plot device to really get some moments where the sisters could reflect. Because if y'all remember, season 2 and through going into season 3, so much stuff was happening. No one got a chance to kind of take a breather. And it felt like this episode, even in the midst of trying to find the source, they got to take a non-convoluted breather, where as they were looking for stuff, they all three got to and Harry got to kind of reflect on what they care for the most and things like that. So I really felt that. Amanda in the chat is saying there were so many great payoffs. I love the callbacks to season 1 and the return of the source. Erica is saying future episodes theory, maybe Harry, other family, actually Macy and her sisters, or Macy and Harry's child, some reason came from the future to see him. I just really want some sort of time travel episode. We kind of got that a little bit with this episode, but only a few minutes. Some people aren't completely convinced that Jimmy is gone. And some people are wondering why he left his life as a wonderful florist. And I got questions about why he suddenly wanted to go totally evil again, because he wasn't technically totally evil before. So we got to dive into that. But lady, as y'all might know, I call my mom Lady. That's what I call her, like, because she's my lady. So if you hear that, it's not, you know, weird. My mom is my lady. So let's dive into what actually happened this episode. So I want to kind of go through it, and then after that, let's talk about the ships and our predictions and theories about what this season 3 is going to bring. Because there were some surprises. You know, I really didn't know where they were going with certain characters and certain relationships. And there were certain things I got frustrated with, but not frustrated with like, oh my gosh, why are y'all doing? But like, oh my gosh, let them do this already, you know? So that's good. That's good frustration. You want to have that kind of frustration where it teases you in a story. So we start the episode and we get Jordan coming to Abigail's house, and Abigail is also sick. So Abigail is sick, and basically were explained that, no one's immune to this. And the guardian of the tree is telling us that when the last leaf falls, magic is done for. So everybody, all magic's going to be done. Everyone's going to, die, lose their power, magic. And what we find out throughout the episode is not just magical beings dying, it's the execution of magic, even like being able to do a spell and things like that are also affected. So magic and its whole thing would be gone. And so we're getting right here and there that the stakes are really high when it comes to this. And so, the guardian explains to them that they have to get the greatest power and the greatest sacrifice. At first, I thought it was going to be something not cheesy, but I thought it was going to be something cool, like the greatest power is love, some Sailor Moon goodness going on. Do you believe? But it wasn't that, it was the source. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense too. It's like the source is actually real power source, although love is a great power, y'all. And so they come up with the idea of the source and infusing the source's power with the tree in order to get it back. But they have the conundrum that, as we remember what happened with the source in season 1 was that they had separated the source, and so it wouldn't get into anyone's hands. They had made it so that they each took a piece and then hid it, and then Harry wiped their mind clean. So now the conundrum of this episode is getting those memories back to find those pieces of the source. And they're on a ticking time clock because everyone's dying and people are sick, which, we talked about this last episode, that it kind of was a harken back to what we deal with now in the real world of this plague and whatnot hitting. So Ma, did you think they were going to come up with, did you think we were going to get back to the thing of the source? Did you think that was a cool callback to, because we kind of forgot about the source. And then when they brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, they did have the source of power.
Yeah, because I think the source, then, was it Macy? Was it Macy? Yeah. Well, didn't the source go into Macy?
Yeah. And she had kind of become a little corrupt and she was messing with stuff. And so they all three decided the source is too strong for one person to wield. So we need to, save the world by separating it out. And so what ended up happening was now they need it again. But the conundrum is they don't remember where they put in. Yeah. As Abigail would later quip in this episode, you guys misplaced the source like you people misplaced car keys. And I don't know, y'all. I kind of like Abigail's little, sass.
Yeah, her sarcasm.
Yeah. And so, what we got was Harry. It was interesting, this part to me, because they're saying, how do we get our power? How do we get our, our memories back? Because Harry wiped them clean. And so one of them comes up with the idea of Abigail. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know. Let me know in the chat and let us know in the replay. Did anyone else find it interesting that Harry was the one that was adamantly like, no, we can't trust Abigail after everything she's done and lied to us about? Because I was like, where did I miss the memo that he suddenly was anti-Abigail? Because, last season he had kissed her, and he was, even after he kissed her, it was kind of like, well, she has some good stuff about her and we need to make amends because, we need her. And then suddenly they're making Harry the one that's very adamantly like, nah, we don't want to talk to Abigail.
Okay. I'm like, he should have been saying that, because when she did that to him to make him remember things.
Yeah, but exactly. That was their reasoning for it. They were like, we needed.
Why, I don't understand why he came out like that. I'm like, I still Mel, because Mel don't trust her.
Well, Mel and we'll talk about that in Ship Talk. Mel and Abby have become sort of weird frenemies, but it was just weird to me because all last season they kind of made it so he was the one that was telling the rest of them, to Macy's displeasure, of course, because she had saw them kiss, and the whole Hasty thing of, we got to work with her. She's not as bad as she seems, blah, blah, blah. And then this episode, they made it so he was the one like, no, we can't talk to her. All the lies. I'm like, where was this last season? You know what I mean? Like, where was this last season? It was interesting to me. I don't know if that was their way, as people have been saying, that this is the kind of season 2 finale we were supposed to get. I don't know if this was their way of tying that up, letting us know that there's no lingering feelings between Harry towards Abigail, that he does not want anything to do with her at all. Maybe that was what they're doing. Maybe they, in reply, in, you know, kind of responding to the fan reaction of, oh my gosh, no, to Harry and Abigail, that they kind of made it so Harry became more anti-Abigail. That just stood out to me. I wrote that down. I'm like, all of a sudden he's the one that's anti-Abigail, you know? And Blue Wolf is saying Harry was kind of right. Yeah, we see that later on, even though, you know, it wasn't with the source, that Abigail, being Abigail, wasn't necessarily up to much good. And then Amanda in the chat is also saying, I was just excited he was finally realizing it was a terrible idea to keep going to her. I agree. I definitely like that, but I was just kind of confused on why he was suddenly the one to do that when all the other times he was a cheerleader. I don't know if that was just the writers letting everyone know, look, guys, there's no triangle going on there. He has no lingering feelings for this woman. O'Dane, thanks for joining us in the chat. It's saying, yeah, that was off. And Jayla is saying, I don't get why they needed Abigail. How did Harry not remember? It's not like his mind was wiped. I don't know. I feel like, Jayla, I feel like he wiped their memories, but maybe he didn't take in their memories. You know what I mean? Like, he can wipe your memory. Maybe he doesn't see it. You know, maybe he didn't see it, because wouldn't that defeat the purpose if Harry was the one to completely remember? So I think it's different from a mind meld that Abigail can do versus what Harry does, which is kind of block it off, because I feel like they went on their way to put the pieces and then tell anybody. And then Harry just kind of, you know, did his thing, but he probably didn't see the memories himself. And I feel with Abigail, the way she does the meld is that she can actually see the clues and whatnot. So, and then, you know, Damien is saying he was making excuses then because he had feelings for her then. Exactly. I think that was why he was making the excuses before that Abigail was cool, because, you know, he saw her as an option or something. So I definitely think it was kind of like a way maybe for the writers to tell us this is done. Amanda is saying, it seemed like Harry didn't go with them to hide the source, and I don't understand how they would have gotten there without him, at least not Macy. Maybe, or maybe she took it. I think this is probably one of those things we can't think about too hard, like how she got there. Because, you know, Harry did seem also surprised with the way she hit it. I don't know how she got there. Maybe she took a magical potion. Not everyone's got a white lighter to orb them, so I'm sure witches had some other way of getting there. So, you know, some people also in the chat are already, you know, Carmelita, Abby, Mel, Endgame. I agree in a way, although I'm worried about our girl Abigail right now. So we'll talk about that in a second. And so, okay, so that was weird to me. But either way, they ended up going to Abigail, and Abigail was not necessarily forthcoming. Jordan was hanging out with her. And her thing was basically, I'm dying. This takes a lot of work. I don't want to do it. But then Harry basically says probably what they should have led with when they came in, which was, hey, if we don't do this, everybody's going to die, including you. That probably should have been what they said first to her, maybe, instead of the other part. But I guess they needed to have that conversation. So they end up doing the mind meld. And, you know, and the sisters, they talk about it. They're like, are we okay with trusting Abigail with knowing where the source is? Will that be okay?
Where was she going? I mean, she was sick.
Exactly. But I think it was a thought of maybe after they got the source, if maybe she would try something. Although I think that's a null point since the source went into the tree.
Yeah. So no.
But I think that was realistic for them to kind of question, like, okay, what could possibly happen? Okay, so the three pieces are in three distinct spots. And before we get to what each sister went through, we go to Jimmy, who is a florist now, and he loves doing flowers. And I thought that was so sweet and cute. I think the actor who plays Harry is also someone who likes flowers and things. So maybe that was the little inside joke. But, you know, he's going to flowers. And this is where it got confusing to me, because I know they gave him the potion to basically orb him to London, and he was supposed to take this potion, and it was supposed to put it in his head that he was a good man and that others would see him as a good man. Because I remember the conversation was, no, I want to have a fresh start. No one's gonna let me have a fresh start, of that. Because, you know, Jimmy wanted his own life because he felt like he was robbed of that. So they gave him that chance. And I know because of what was happening with the tree that things were fading, but I was kind of confused as to why when with the potion that he had taken grew weak, he kind of went straight up evil. Because I always felt like Jimmy wasn't completely straight up evil. You get what I'm saying? Like, I always felt like it was kind of like, this is what I got to do to get by. I do what I got to do. While, you know, Harry is more of the, even if it's good, he's not self-serving. Harry isn't self-serving. Jimmy is self-serving. That his other darker half. But I didn't ever feel like Jimmy was a straight up cold-blooded type killer just for the heck of it in a way. So it was a little weird to me that just because the thing wore off, that suddenly he was like, I'm going to go completely, fully bad. Unless the potion they gave him also like changed his memories or something. Like, was that also a side effect of the thing, that his memories were lost and that suddenly he just believes he's a good man and he totally forgets everything else? Maybe I missed that part. Let me know in the chat, y'all, because I don't know if I am just misremembering or what, because I never knew that. Like, I didn't hear that him getting his memories erased and not realizing who he was part of that spell. So it kind of threw me off that he straight up went evil when he was never really evil. It was more so he was conniving, insidious, kind of like Abigail. He was very much an Abigail. And so it was weird that suddenly they were going with this idea that he was going to be straight up just evil, and also to ultimately want to kill Harry. I was like, once again, I thought that was another way of the writers wanting to tie up a storyline. And it just seemed weird because Jimmy was never straight up evil. You know what I mean? So what do you think about that, Ma?
When you said Jimmy wasn't completely evil, okay, I understand what you're saying. Like, because when the aunt found him, she kind of took over and made him, you know, go after the charm ones to get the powers and everything. And you're right, he probably wasn't evil, but when she did that to him, I guess he figured he was.
Yeah. Maybe that's true. Maybe once it faded off, he was like, well, I like being an assassin, because he always, you know, as others are saying in the chat, Damie is saying magic was dying. That's why the mind virus stopped working. Jimmy will always be dark. And Blue Wolf Phoenix is saying Jimmy is a dark lighter. So when the spell wore off, he went back to his dark nature. But yes, but this is the thing. Dark nature doesn't always have to mean straight up cold-blooded killer. I want to take over the world. It could just mean he's a little bit more rebellious than goody Harry is necessarily. And I always got that more of a vibe from him, that he was doing the assassin thing because they told him that he had a new master and he had to do it. And then he actually called Harry in season 2 to come rescue him, because they had to put him back in the bottle. So it was kind of like, why are we doing this thing of, but I get it. He always kind of wanted to get rid of Harry. But then I thought that he kind of saw the light of day when Mel was talking to him and he chose to take the potion. It was like, okay, I want a new start. And then it was like, okay, the new start wears off and suddenly he just wants to be evil again. It seemed a little weird to me. But see, okay, Boo Wolf is saying in the chat that dark lighters are the incarnate evil. See, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they kind of changed the origin, because if we remember, I believe her name was Helen. With Helen, she was 2 halves and she never felt whole without her second half, right? She became catatonic and, you know, just basically catatonic and wasn't really speaking. And her other half was wild and crazy, but they genuinely wanted to be one. They wanted to, she was the darker side was wild, but they wanted to join up with each other. They wanted to be together because neither of them felt whole. And that's why in season 2, I had always thought they were leaning towards this idea of, you know, 2 sides of a human, that eventually that the 2 of them, that Harry and Jimmy would want to combine so that Harry would finally have that other part of him. Because I feel, I mean, not to get into human nature of all that, but dark and light dark isn't necessarily evil in my opinion. It's just the other part of you. So it's like the way, and I felt like somewhere along the line they decided to switch that and not do Harry and Jimmy coming together, and more so sending Jimmy off somewhere. And it just felt kind of like, well, why did Helen and her Dark Lighter have this need to come together, but Harry has no need to come together with his other half? And now it's like, okay, Jimmy is just evil. And I was like, okay, so is that saying that all of us have parts of ourselves that could just be straight up evil? I know that's philosophical. I'm not trying to get super deep with y'all, but I'm just like, it just seemed a little extreme to make him just straight up like, I want to kill you, Harry.
Yeah,
like, what?
Real quick.
Yeah. Carmelita is saying, I already miss Jimmy. So much potential for a great villain just gone. Exactly. And one of the things we love about villains is they kind of tote the line. They have good moments and they have mostly evil moments, but sometimes they have those moments where you kind of like them, kind of like with Abigail. I know y'all don't really feel her, but there's moments like that. And I felt like Jimmy was and I felt like Jimmy also, they made it so Jimmy kind of forgot about his love for Macy, which was the other thing that he had got from, Harry, which was weird. But maybe that's why he also wanted to kill Harry. But they didn't have him say that. I thought if he was going to kill Harry, it would be because I want Macy for myself. I got to kill you. I got to take you out. But he didn't even say that. It was just more like, I just want to get rid of you. I
thought he said that it just can only be one of us.
Yeah, but I'm like, this ain't Highlander, like this ain't there can only be one. Like you gotta cut off someone's head. For those of you who remember, Highlander. Robert Soko is saying they needed to wrap up Jimmy's arc because nobody forced him to take the potion. This was something he always wanted, a life of his own, and they changed it. Yeah, it was weird. I felt like they, like you said, felt like they needed to wrap up the storyline. They didn't want him walking around, so to tie it up was to kill him. And I was just like, but why? Maybe I just don't like the decision they made to kill him.
Yeah, I understand. But what I don't care, I think somehow Jimmy's going to come back here somewhere.
I don't think this is the last we've seen of Jimmy. Let us know in the chat and in the replay, y'all, comment section, if you think this is the last we've seen of Jimmy. I don't think it's the last we've seen of Jimmy. I think there's potential for Jimmy in some regard, but I also feel like maybe the writers were tired of having to do the doppelganger thing with Harry. So that's why they killed him off. Yeah, I don't know. Amanda is saying, I think Harry saying I've just begun to live was him admitting he didn't need his dark side in order to be whole. I definitely agree with that. And I agree with that. I agree that that's the route the teachers, the storytellers, the writers decided to take, that Harry was already whole as himself. And I'm fine with that. It just wasn't, to me, it didn't feel like that was their original intent when they started the storyline, because they had Harry being very kind of like down about the fact that he didn't feel whole and that Macy kind of wanted his darker half and maybe he wasn't completely a whole man. And I feel like they kind of switched that, or maybe they just made him evolve to totally, not be that way. O'Dane is saying, I totally agree. Jimmy felt the same emotions as Harry, so I didn't think he was evil.
Yeah, I didn't think he was evil either.
Yeah. So it's a little weird. But that's fine. I guess I'm saying I'm not completely satisfied with the way they wrapped up that plot point, but we'll see. Maybe it's not the end.
Even at that moment when everything,
Yeah, I was just like, well, if he's dead, why doesn't his body just stay there? But, whatever. Okay, so we have this whole thing with the three sisters. They split off into teams. We get Jordan and Maggie, Georgie. We get Mel and Abby, Abamel. And we get Macy and Harry going off on their journeys to get their different ones. So I really liked Maggie's plot line in that, she went back to Kappa. I was a little sad that we did not see Lucy, y'all. I thought we were going to see Lucy. We didn't see Lucy, but maybe it would have been too much had Lucy seen her, because Lucy was such a big part of, season 1 and being Maggie's close friend and everything.
Okay, I have a question. That wasn't Lucy that saw her when she came in?
No, that was some other girl. That was not Lucy.
Oh, okay.
No, that wasn't Lucy. That was someone else. Amanda is saying they tried to get Lucy, but the actress was occupied. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that would have been nice. But we didn't get Lucy, but we got a nice little journey with Maggie and Jordan. They try to get into the house. They think they're going to do a glamour spell, but that doesn't work. So they do the old school way of buying someone's costumes, and that was cute. And Maggie seems to be avoiding talking about death, and we get this with all three sisters except Mel, but, kind of avoiding talking about the potential that she might be the one that has to die. Yeah. And Jordan very much wants to let her know, you're not going to die. And they have these nice moments, the stargazing scene was beautiful. We'll talk about a little bit more of the relationship stuff and the ship talk, but I liked, what Maggie has become such a character that is, I'm not going to say necessarily wise beyond her years. I'm going to say someone who really has such an intelligence when it comes to her emotions, and just really, and that's emotional intelligence is a thing, I feel like. And, she's just very in tune with that, with the whole thing of the stars and figuring it out. I was a little weirded out that she hid the piece in her box in her room, but like it was right next to her in the house. That was a little weird.
She had to go all the way over somewhere else, and then she realized we're at the wrong house.
It's in my house the whole time. I was like, okay, wait a minute, you hid that right here. Okay. Like you really just hid it in your room, but okay. And so that was fine. But like Damie is saying, I really love seeing Kappa again. It was the old school kind of, who, and it was nice to see because it was a comparison to who Maggie was at one time.
Yeah,
And it was funny that Jordan wasn't judging that of her. He was like, hey, we've all had that time in our life where we're like, I got the pictures to prove it. And it was a very nice thing of seeing. I think in that moment, you really got to see who Maggie had grown into being, that she wasn't, and kind of her struggle that she was having in season 2, where she felt like everyone was looking at her as a kid or a child, and really, maybe kind of seeing I've really grown up, I've really matured in everything I've been through. And I really appreciated that. We're not going to talk about the Jordan and Maggie almost kissing type stuff that we need to talk about, but it's, a whole thing and whatnot. Oh, hi, Josh. Thank you. Oh, it's okay. Thank you. I don't have a Cash App, but if you want to, and all of you here, if you'd like to, you can also donate through the super chat. I believe I have super chat enabled if you want to give a little bit of a donation in the super chat button on the chat box here. So that's one way to support if you like. No pressure, of course, though. Yeah. So, but hey, Josh, thanks for dropping by. And so, yeah. So I really felt like that was a nice thing of seeing Maggie grow, and I really appreciated that. And so, did you feel that way, Mon? That was kind of their way of showing her having matured?
Yeah, Maggie did come a long way, and in the way she was seeing how she was acting when she went to the when they went to, what was the their sorority?
Kappa, yeah, Kappa.
She was at it, and she said, "Yeah, this is what we did," and she looked at it, and I guess she realized, yeah, she kind of grew. She saw her as she was, and then she realized what she was now and everything. Especially Ford in there, When she asked me, she said, now you know how I was, He said, yeah, but we all go through this, like you said. And we do, especially when you're growing up.
Yeah. And O'Dane is saying regarding the Jordan thing that she wasn't dismissing, but that, maybe she doesn't want to get, feelings and stuff like that. We gotta talk about that. Like, where is the avoidance thing when it comes to Maggie? But we'll talk about that when we get to the ship talk of the episode. But yeah, I really liked that. That was probably the sweetest, most growth. And like others are saying, I also agree. Jayla is saying in the chat, Maggie has had the best growth of all the sisters. I definitely agree with that. When it comes to, when it comes to an individual character, I feel like she's had the best growth. I feel like Macy is growing when it comes to relationships. I think it's still a process for her. And we're seeing that with her and Harry. I think as individuals, I feel like Maggie has come the longest way. Mel changes, but I feel like sometimes they have Mel change depending on what they want her to do if that makes sense. Because sometimes she's like super, super stubborn and can't see anything and judgmental. And the other time she's super optimistic and, you know, the logical one. I'm just like, okay, I don't know. And I'm not saying her character, I'm not saying that Mel is inconsistent, but it hasn't been a through line as it's been and a very pointed, concerted thing as it has been with Maggie as much as Mel. Although I have seen growth in Mel, because as y'all know, I wasn't feeling Mel in season 1. I thought it was like, oh my gosh, she's kind of annoying with how judgmental she is and rude. And I feel like that has changed, but I kind of feel like at times it has depended on, you know, that it has depended on what happens to her in the episode. But I do see change. Okay. But I don't think, you know, I don't think necessarily as consistent as Maggie. Shamar is saying, I do think Mel has grown a lot, though. And Jayla is saying, poor Mel is used as a plot device a lot. That does happen. And my hope for Mel is that she gets to have a consistent growing relationship, too, like the other sisters, because she doesn't seem to be doing that. And we'll talk about that in a bit. So, you know, Maggie eventually finds the thing that's been in her room the whole time, that source. I don't know how I felt about that. But then we get to Mel and Abby, which, you know, my Abigail heart was quite happy that they were, you know, it was interesting. I thought she was going to try to get Ruby to help, but, you know, Ruby was also sick. But the thing was, so was Abigail. So it was kind of like, you know, Kanisha got Ruby, but they made it so it was her and Abigail. So her and Abigail are looking for the thing, and it's the idea of the cemetery. But then even Abigail's like, you're smarter than that. Why would you put it at the cemetery? You know, people can, is your password also your pet name? You know, like very easy to figure out. And then we figure out that because Mel was a time witch at one time, that she put it actually in the future at that place, which was really cool. And I felt like it was very great that they were playing on their previous powers, which I miss. I kind of miss Mel being able to control time, although her new powers are very cool as well. So, you know, we got it. So they had to go to Celeste. And, you know, I've come to like Celeste. Sometimes I didn't like her when she first came on because she forced the girls into that dream nightmare. But I really like that they went to Celeste, and Celeste gave up the time. And she said, okay, you know, time is a wild animal. It was probably my favorite quote in the episode, where she was like, Celeste said, time is a wild animal, and I've been keeping it as a pet for too long. As in, you know, it's time for me to grow older and pass away like everybody else. And so she allows Mel and Abigail to go in the future. And she tells me, you only got 15 minutes. Don't interact. Just do what you got to do. But of course, that's not necessarily what happens, of course. And so Mel sees her actual grave. She's supposed to die on February 14th, 2021, Valentine's Day. She's supposed to die. And Abigail tells her, like, you could just stay here. Why do you want to come back? You could live out your life. You don't have to die. But of course, Mel makes the decision that we knew she'd make, which is, if this is what I got to do, I'm going to do it to save the world. And, you know, that was awesome, you know, because they're superheroes, you know, in their own way. And we actually see Ruby, Grandma Ruby, with her granddaughter. And Ruby is there giving flowers, saying that we have to, you know, honor the witches that sacrifice for the rest of us. And so that was a moment that was cute. And, you know, it speaks to Ruby and maybe Mel's, you know, strong feelings for each other thus far. And I thought that was very interesting to see them. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. Shamar saying, I felt bad for Abigail this episode. I definitely don't think she'll be good after this, you know. And Jayla saying, I want Mel to get her time powers again. I want Macy to get her demon powers back, which Abigail still has. No one talks about that. I love seeing Celeste again, Amanda is saying, but mainly because Kate Burton is such a great actress. That too. She is a great actress. It's, you know, quality. So that's always good. And Damien is saying, I miss their old powers too. I wish they had their old and new powers together. Stephanie is saying, I kind of disagree. I think her arc with Ray in season 2 was a big change for her. I believe Stephanie is talking to Mel's growth. She was always super judgy of Ray, and now she is understanding of their POV and doesn't put her mom on a pedestal. That's true. That's true. When it came to, that was a growth moment. I felt like that was a growth moment with Ray being Maggie and Mel's father and Mel's biological father. I did see that. Although it's weird because, as we know, that was all her growth, and her connection to Ray was then used as a plot device for Maggie having her panic attacks. So yes, there was growth on Mel's part, but it seemed to be kind of used for Maggie's plot line. So it works though. You know, I liked it. And O'Dane is saying, I think Mel might receive her original powers after touching and restoring the tree using the source. We don't know the you know, that's the thing, and we got to talk about it, y'all. Also in the replay as well, what are going to be the ramifications? We've already saw the instant ramification. They seem to can't be able to touch each other, but we got to see what happens to their bodies. I mean, their hands were in it. They had the source. What's going to happen? And Jed is asking, thanks for joining us in chat, Jed, do you think Ruby could be Abigail's sister in some way? I think it would be interesting but the thing is, Abigail didn't seem to be like, she just kind of said, I've seen her before. That did stand out to me when Abigail and Mel were at the gravesite and Ruby was like, I've seen her before. And that's when Mel was like, oh, she's a friend. So that was kind of interesting that they made Abigail say that. I don't know if that means anything in particular, but it definitely could mean that Abigail has some type of connection to Ruby, which would be nice because that might bring Ruby more into the story as opposed to just being Mel's, you know, love interest. So what did you think of that, Mom? Because I know when we talked about that with her seeing her with Mel seeing her gravestone, you weren't convinced. You were kind of like, that could be for something else.
Yeah, because I really didn't think that she was going to die. Okay, when you pointed out that she died February 14th, 2021, you know, I was saying, because me, I was thinking maybe that don't exactly mean that she's going to die, you know, but I just thought maybe it was because it was in the near future.
Yeah, but it said February 14th. So she was like, I'm supposed to die today. Now, my one issue with this, and tell me if I'm being nitpicky, y'all, or not, but my one issue was if the girls had already been presumed dead, and if Mel even did die on February 14th, why would there be an updated gravestone if everyone thought they were dead already? Wouldn't they already be buried somewhere? Yeah. So that was a little weird to me, but I know I'm going to say I'm being a little nitpicky on that, and that this was a plot point to drive home the fact that Mel was supposed to be the one to die. But I'm just going to say that if they were all three presumed dead already, wouldn't they have gravestones already? Why would it be February 14th? Not sure. That just stood out to me. Maybe it's just me. I was like, why would they have a new upgraded stone if they already thought she died? But okay, plot device, whatever. Yeah, it was a little weird. Jamar was saying I was confused about that too. Yeah. So okay. So then we get Macy and Harry, our Hasty, the dynamic duo, and you know, Macy being Macy. I really love this about this episode because we saw Macy in her element of science, you know, and figuring out that, you know, flash forward, she's like, sandals, I don't even wear sandals, and then she figures out that she put it in a place that was like on the other side of the world at the exact diameter or whatever, science, math of where their old place was. And so they go there, and we'll talk about Macy and Harry's moment during the ship talk, but then, you know, and I felt like that was probably the main point of that scene for them when she found it, having to wait for the tide, was that talk between them. So it's not much to say about that aside from the ship talk, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, I thought it was good. I felt like it showed Macy in her element more. And I also felt like this was a upgrade from what happened last episode, because I just felt like Macy, they wrote her kind of out of character last episode for me. I'm not saying she's always analytical, but she thinks a little bit more than they had her thinking in the last episode. So I was happy to see a return to that, Mom. What do you think?
Yeah, I was happy to see her, you know, well, she's more know-it-all, you know, knowing this and that.
Yeah, and she's, I don't think it's know-it-all. I think
I don't mean like that, but, you know, she was so confident in saying what was what and how she thought out things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that wasn't there last episode. Yeah.
Because last episode, she's so emotional, you know, nothing, she wasn't thinking straight or anything.
Yeah, which seemed just seemed kind of out of her element for her. And I like the fact that there was more of a balance this episode. Jayla is saying in the chat, I still don't get how Julian putting Macy's picture on blast. People in Hilltown don't realize they're alive. Exactly. Even when Julian put out, yeah, exactly. And even at the rec center, people are like, oh, Macy's supposed to be dead. Like, no one else is coming up to him. It's like in this day and age, it hasn't spread like wildfire. Yeah, it's a little contrived to keep the plot line like that going. Maybe hopefully they don't have to do witness protection anymore at some point. They can just kind of come from that, because that doesn't seem to make much sense anymore. I don't really think they have to do it anymore, right? So I don't know.
They can come out, the hiding, or as they put it.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems like maybe they need to do away with that plot line. Okay, so we'll come back to the Harry and Macy love thing in a second. So basically, plot line wise, of the overall plot line, they basically get, the three pieces, and all of them are ready to sacrifice themselves, which was very powerful. I got a lot of feels from that. And then Mel, being Mel, takes charge, and she's like, "No, we're not going to keep debating this." And she decides that she's going to do it. And it was very much a Sailor Moon moment, in my opinion, that they all join hands together to join, to eventually be able to do so Mel wouldn't be the only one to die. Look at Sailor Moon's a great anime, y'all. Y'all should check it out. It has some very similar things to Charmed, which I love. So they all join together. Mel seems to be a little bit sicker than the other two, which is interesting, because this is the second time that's happened with Mel. I don't know if this is going to be a thing for them, but I remember in the previous episode where they had to keep the portal open and Maggie and Mel were doing it, Mel had a nosebleed and passed out. And in this one, out of the three of them, Mel was the one who felt like she couldn't hold on much longer. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm wondering if that's a thing where there's something going on with Mel and her powers or something, because it seems to be she's the one that gets the most affected when that happens for them, and she's the one. But in this case, it could have just been because she stuck her hand in first, so she had to hold on longer than them. Maybe I could be thinking too much into it, but it's just interesting that's happened twice with Mel thus far. Amanda saying, I love when Macy was tearing apart her room and Harry was just chilling watching her. He already is so comfortable in her room. Yes, we love it. We love domestic Hasty. We really do. I love it. Yes, Stephanie, fighting evil by moonlight. That's Sailor Moon's theme song. Yes, y'all. Yes.
Look, I grew up watching it too with my daughter.
yes, you did. Which is interesting. I still got issues with the fact that Charm doesn't have an opening yet. It's season 3. I feel like we need an opening title sequence for them at this point. It's a witch show. You should have an opening title sequence for a show like this, but that's neither here nor there. I don't know. I don't know. Let me know in the chat, y'all, and also in the replay if you think I might be onto something there about the fact that Mel seems to be having issues more than the other two when it comes to when they do those things, that she's the one to kind of pass out or something. I don't know what that's about. O'Dane is saying, yeah, it seems that something is going on with Mel. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I feel like there might be. So, all right. So we basically get the greatest power source, but also love. The greatest power is also love, because they came together, and sacrifice of being willing to sacrifice each other for things. And so they save it. They save magic. But right before, as it's happening, Jimmy shows up. And we already talked about this at length. Jimmy shows up. He wants to kill Harry. They battle. It was a very cool fight scene. Did you think that fight scene was cool, Ma?
Oh, well, yeah, I did. But remember, he asked Jimmy, "How you get in?"
Right. He was like, that door is hidden. Yeah. And he's like, not anymore. But that makes sense because the magic was fading, so the door was now obvious. Which is surprising that Jimmy was the only person that made it in there. But like no one else was like, hey, what's going on down here? Yeah. So Jimmy gets in. He decides, he's like, there can only be one of us. I don't know why Jimmy necessarily feels that way, but he feels that way. And they battle. It was a very cool fight scene. And then we don't know who got stabbed. I was a little worried it was Harry, but we find out that it was Jimmy. And so Jimmy dies, or so he died.
He just proves he did. Because I put it this: when he killed them before, Jimmy ended up back in the grave. Waking up somewhere in the grave. So I don't know. So I don't think I'm just thinking maybe he's not quite gone.
Yeah. So that might be a thing. And so that's the end of Jimmy thus far, at least for the ending of it. Amanda has a theory where she's saying, I wonder if it could be tied, Mel being the one that passes out early, could be tied to the fact that Ray is Mel's father and not Dexter. Maybe we'll find out Dexter has some magical lineage. It might be, because we also found out that Macy and Maggie are actually full sisters, and Mel's the half sister, although Maggie grew up with Mel and everyone thought Macy was the half sister, when we found out that Dexter was both Maggie and Macy's biological father. So it might be something there. I don't know. And Stephanie is saying, but how many death fake outs can you have? This is very true when it comes to Jimmy. When it comes to Jimmy, when it comes to all of them, it's like, how many times can we think Jimmy's dead, but he's not? I mean, maybe it can be an ongoing thing. We're only on season 3, and let's give it up, y'all, because we got a season 4 coming. We got approved for a season 4. So that's really great when it comes to Charmed. So we know we're getting a season 4. Haters can suck it when it comes to it. But yeah, I mean, it could be an ongoing thing that he comes up every so often. So we'll see.
Because I think that's we're all going to think he's gone, but boom, he's going to pop up somewhere.
Yeah. The Jayla is saying the writers seem to confirm that Jimmy is dead. Maybe they're just tired of doing the double duty. Blue Wolf is saying you can't kill one without killing the other. So I don't think that Jimmy is dead.
Blue Wolf on that one too.
But if you remember, the question is, when did he get stabbed? Because if it was before.
Oh yeah, before
the sisters, before the sisters saved the tree, then yes, he could really be dead if it's before the sisters saved the tree. But if it happened after the sisters saved the tree, then there is a chance that Jimmy could still be alive. We don't know, but
when they did that, but I think it happened right the moment when they did save and then he did kill. I think that's when it happened. I think that's when, in a sense, it happened. By the time they got ready to save, when they got ready to save, that's when he stabbed them, and then that's when you. But
I feel like he didn't take it. Yeah, he didn't take his last breath though until it seems like after Magic. So I don't know. That might be the writer's little exit if they wanted to bring him back. The claim that he was killed before he was killed after, and the bond was returned. So. I think if the writers are really done with this Jimmy storyline, they'll say that he was killed before it was restored. Yeah, as we're seeing. So that made
that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Jimmy's coming back.
Do you think he's coming back, or you want him to come back? Do you want him to come back? Maybe it's your want.
Jimmy. I like Jimmy.
Yeah.
Okay, like I said, like you was talking about how Harry is the good, but you have a part in you that's a little naughty and everything. I mean, come on, Harry need that part.
Well, that's debatable, because they seem to be going with this idea that Harry's whole all on his own. And if that's the case, then he doesn't really need Jimmy.
Well, if that's the case, they wouldn't have took, in order to make him a white liar, they took that part from him. But
you get what I'm saying, Ma? They changed the direction of this storyline. Yeah. Originally, it was you need the other half to feel whole, and they switched it to he don't need the other half to be whole. That's what it seems like.
I think I need to talk to the writers. It's going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Okay, so we got that, and then flash to Abigail. Okay. And she has a little bit of a fit, and rightly so. She was trying to connect back to her mother and her sister, who we did not see. Jordan lets us know through Maggie that he did not see what they looked like. He didn't see what her sister looked like. She left a note, and she left a talisman of some sort. And Abigail seems really hurt about that, especially probably hearing Mel being so loving to her sisters and stuff, and the love they have, and then her sister straight up rejecting her, probably hurt her a lot. And then
telling her mother don't come back.
Yeah, like, we don't want to have anything to do with what you're choosing to do and what we're doing. And so Abigail breaks off the talisman, sniffs in the air, and apparently seems, in my view, seems to go full demon. Straight up full demon, because she was half demon. She was half demon, half witch. And I feel like this made her full demon. So unless I'm missing something, y'all, I was little questioning myself. I was like, have I seen this talisman? Have I seen this little statue before? Is this a return to a reference, or is this completely new? So, but my guess is when she breathed that in, she became fully, she went all demon. What do you think, Ma? Do you think she went fully demon?
Yeah, when it said I'm back.
Yeah. And I'm like, or no one can stop me now or something like that. I was just like, what, who is this? Like, is that her form, or
where did he come? All of a sudden, but she must have known what it would do to her and everything, because that's what she wanted.
Yeah. No, she knew. She made that choice. She decided to do it.
So I guess she's so maybe she's the next villain for them against them.
I feel like it'd be a little boring if she was the main villain, but I definitely think she's going to be doing some stuff on the side for some reason. Maybe she'll try to take back the demon world because she got dethroned. So maybe, because that never got wrapped up, y'all. We never really got a wrap up of who took over the demon world.
Yeah,
got sick and stuff. And they suddenly just stopped looking for her. So maybe she's going back to take over the demon world. So we'll see. Blue Wolf is saying in the chat, Abigail is jealous that the Charmed Ones have a sisterly bond, and she can't even have a sisterly bond with her sister. So that was the nail in the coffin. I know some people might want Abigail to be completely, totally done, but I don't know. I feel like there's still hope for her. I feel like she's already been on the dark side. I do think there's a little hope for her. I think we'll see, because I feel like we have to figure out who was that person in the mirror. Did she meld with someone, or was this her true form? What's all that about? And I think we will be exploring that in this season. I wonder if she's, I think it would be a waste if she just goes completely evil and then they vanquish her. She's an interesting character. I know everyone doesn't agree with that, but I do think she's an interesting character enough not to just be done away with. So, yeah. What do you think, Mon? Do you think she should be completely villain and done away with, or... I don't know. I don't think you feeling Abigail either. I think me and Carmelita are the only people who like Abigail.
No. Well, we didn't get to this part yet, but I kind of liked Abigail in this scene. In that scene when she read the letter, I kind of felt her. Mm-hmm. When she read the letter from her sister, and what her sister said, you kind of saw you saw her whole expression. In a way, I kind of felt bad for her.
Yeah, I did too.
She was like, because she saw looking at Maggie. Yeah, she was looking at Maggie and them, how Maggie was going to sacrifice her life, because she told Maggie, you could stay here and live. Told Mel that you could stay here and live, and you don't have to go back. But she told her, no, I wouldn't do that against my sisters. I want them to live, and I want things to work out. It was only the right thing. She looked at her like,
they must be lucky to have you.
Yeah.
And then she was thinking of her own situation, that her mother and her sister want nothing to do with her. So I definitely agree with that. O'Dane is saying in the chat, Abby seemed to release a demigod or power demon. Carmelita is saying, I think her part demon was concealed until now. Stephanie is saying, I thought I was having a stroke when I saw the talisman, thinking that there was going to be a Nancy Drew crossover. Yes. Yeah. For those who watch Nancy Drew, I think maybe they were just using the same prop department. They all are on CW. So maybe that's it too, but there could maybe, I think, O'Dane is saying Abby, maybe she became whole with her demon side after breaking the artifact. And Shamar is actually saying, I think Abigail should be evil. They already did the Cole storyline with Parker, so we don't need to see that again. I agree with you. I don't think we need to see another Cole, for those who remember the old reboot. And now with Parker, where he's always fighting his demon side. But and I said this before, my thing with Abigail is that I didn't necessarily want her fighting her demon side. And I kind of said the same thing about Macy too. I was like, we've already learned that demon and witch are two sides of the same coin. They don't always have to be at war with each other. Maybe she's not the nicest and always on the best side, but I don't think that means she has to be straight up world domination. I want to take over for the dark side either. And that's what I was hoping they'd kind of toe the line with her, where she's not necessarily good. She just, she helps them occasionally. She does her own thing. And maybe she has her own little heist and stuff that she does that isn't always on the up and up, maybe that frenemy thing. And I feel like they may be going in the line of straight up villain. And that's fine if they want to go that route. I don't know the emotional weight that will be behind it, but maybe we might be getting in the season. Maybe we'll be seeing her sister. Maybe that'll come into play as Abigail goes on her thing. Damien is saying in the chat, the writer said on their Twitter that we are not done with her. Yeah. I mean, it's very clear they won't be done with her. The question is where are they going with her? Stephanie is saying, I do want Abby to be more of an anti-hero-esque type of character. Exactly. Like everyone doesn't have to go on the good side completely. I felt like that's what they were trying to do with Jimmy, but it just seems like they're saying that you're either totally on the good side or totally on the bad side. And I feel that like that kind of puts them in corners when it comes to characters. Because if you make someone straight up villain, eventually you have to get rid of them, as opposed to a character that just kind of does their own thing and they're not always on the up and up. Kamalita is saying, dude, if the charm ones kill her, it would be really bad. Like that would make them killers of a character that many people like. It would be ethical fandom dilemma. I don't know. Let us know in the chat and also in the replay, y'all, if y'all agree with Kamalita. I do think it would be, I don't think it would be the best thing to do because Abigail is light. I think we'll see. Yeah. I'm not completely, I don't want to do away with Abigail, but maybe that's just because of my bias that I do like her as a character and I kind of ship Abigail, but
it might be, you never know.
Yeah. Blue Wolf is saying, I want to see Abigail as a full demon. Now that will be interesting. Will the charm ones have the heart to vanquish her? Yeah, I guess. I just feel like, why not? Why can't we have great characters?
We'll do that quickly.
Yeah, I just feel like, why can't we have great characters? Damien is saying she's Team Abby hate here. Yeah, we got Team Abby hate going on. Jayla is saying, until Abigail gives Macy her powers back, I can't like her character. Abigail also needs to apologize to Macy. Honestly, there's a lot of lingering things they're not going to address or they haven't addressed between the characters in terms of people needing to apologize to others. And we may never get that. I always keep bringing up that Abigail essentially has Macy's demon powers. When is Macy going to get her demon powers back? It just seems like, it's cool that Macy can move things again, but I felt like Macy's demon part of her was a part of her. And I liked when that plot line came. So I'm kind of, I'm not the happiest that they've kind of taken away that element of Macy's demon side.
I mean, I didn't understand why they took it because that's how she lived. I mean, that was part of her.
Yeah. And I kind of like the fact that she could toe in both worlds, you know?
She had to deal with it, they should have just left it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. Okay, y'all. So we got that. We got kind of a season 2 finale that's going to let us know into season 3, the real season 3. Bless you, lady. The real season 3 of what's going to be happening. So we got things to jump into. First and foremost, ship talk, y'all. We got to talk about it. We said we were going to talk about it. We're talking about it. So Mel and Abigail. Yes, I know that's not the first one some of y'all wanted to talk about, but I'm going to talk about Mel and Abigail. Abimel. That's a cool name. I don't know. So not much to talk about except the fact that, Abigail, I think Mel sees some goodness in Abigail. Like she told her, like you're not going to die. There's good things. And I feel like Mel tries to be a good influence to Abigail and it may not be going anywhere in that sense, but it was nice. Although I feel like it wasn't any romance there, but I did feel like, they had the little thing of them holding hands and things like that. But this may be I feel like if anyone's going to get the most affected by Abby going full villain, it probably will be Mel. I think they set it up for that because I feel like Mel feels some type of friendship or something connection to Abigail. And I feel like her going full demon is probably going to affect Mel the most. What do you think, Ma?
On that, it might affect. Yeah, well, it probably will affect her. But remember, it could also bring back. See, I know, her how she doubted Abigail too. Even though she was starting to see, Abigail in a new light, but then if Abigail go full demon, that might, make her think again that she should have trusted her.
Or she might feel like she can bring her back. They've clearly made it so Harry is not the one who feels any kind of redemption of Abigail. He's like, we can't trust her. They did that. The writers made that very clear. Harry ain't on her side. But I do feel like they've made it in these times with the interaction that Mel and Abigail have had, that out of all of them, Mel will be the one to maybe try to see something. Because when Harry went to go see Abigail about the mind meld, it was Mel that went with him this time. I feel like they're making it so that that there's going to be a situation where Mel might be the most effective by Abby going the way that she's going. Mm-hmm. Carmelita is saying in the chat, they balance each other. I like it. I feel like Mel has a sharp tongue. And I feel like Abigail also has a sharp tongue. And I just like their banter. I just think they'd be very fun to have scenes with. Kind of like that love-hate kind of relationship. Two people can have that kind of ship. And we haven't had that kind of ship yet. That love-hate relationship ship yet. I don't think we have on the show. Where, they kind of start off frenemies or enemies, frenemies to lovers. Why not? I think that'd be really cool, Yes, Damie, thank you. I love ship talk too. Thank you. Abigail Endgame. Yeah. Oh, we got a third Abigail person.
Robert,
yes, Robert. Okay. Yes, Abigail. Jayla is saying Mel deserves a stable relationship. It's why I like Ruby and Mel. I feel it, and we'll talk about them in a second. I just, stable it's great. It is true. Stable can be good, but you also kind of have to wonder if stable can also feel like boring, and I just feel like Mel would have such a cool dynamic with Abigail, but I don't know. Oh my God, Mel is going to be the one to vanquish Abigail. Look at that. Wouldn't that be something? If y'all ever watch Buffy, I know I referenced other show, but Buffy, do y'all remember when Buffy had to be the one to stab Angel because he had went evil and only his blood could change the gate of hell, and she had to kill him.
Good. He turned good before.
Could you imagine the epicness of that?
Oh,
if Mel had to be the one to take her out.
That's why I was saying that Mel might end up having to vanquish her. I agree with him on it. She might be the one to vanquish her, but then she probably had got to like her, and then that would be so. Oh.
Wouldn't that be awesome? That'd be great storytelling. So then afterwards, she can get with Ruby. Like after she kills Abigail,
she got that emotion about what she did.
Yeah, well, it's good storytelling. I don't watch shows to watch people just be happy all the time. I can work on my own time like that. Jayla is saying Harry doesn't want to get knocked out by Macy by being Team Abby anymore. Darn right. Robert is saying Mel is the only one who can reach Abigail. It's the slow burn to me, the Abigail endgame, people. Yes. Mel Abby. Okay, O'Dane, that's another one. Stephanie is saying, I'm definitely open to Abigail, but I need Abby to be more open to witches, and the same thing with Mel and demons.
Yeah.
I think wouldn't that be such a cool thing? I mean, that would be think about it. If Abigail and Mel got married, because look, Parker and Maggie were going to get married to solve the truth. But if Abigail takes over and then Mel marries Abigail, you have a truce of the demon world. It writes itself, y'all. I just figured it out. Yes, y'all. Yes. And Toddy fan, the cutie on the right is my mother. And she's a wonderful lady. She's very cute. Yes, she is. Thank you. Carmelita is saying Mel and Ruby have no chemistry. One loves witches and one doesn't want anything to do with it. How is that a stable relationship? We'll talk about that in a second, because I think that is a point, although I do think they're changing it a little bit with Ruby. So Jayla is saying Ruby deserves more screen time and story. There's angst there between Mel and Ruby. There is potential angst. There's potential angst. Yes, Damie, we love Buffy. We don't like Josh Whedon, but we love Buffy. Nothing on Josh Whedon. O'Dane Lowe, I'm loving this. Yes, I'm glad you all are. Okay. So I made my case for Mel and Abby being one of the greatest storylines ever. But we do still have Mel and Ruby. And the writers did make a point in having Ruby be the one that constantly, every year of Mel's death in the future, which never ended up happening, coming with her granddaughter and bringing flowers and touching the thing. So
yeah.
I don't know. What did you think about that, Ma? That they made it a point to have it so that Ruby, as an older person, was there out of everyone they could have had visit Mel's grave.
Well, in a sense, it did make sense with Ruby being the one to bring her flowers, because she didn't want her to, when Ruby got sick, she didn't want her to be sick because of that. And when she saw her, she said she's alive. She lived. So she knew. She felt good when she saw Ruby. She was happy that she lived.
And I thought that was a beautiful moment. I thought that was beautiful because Mel was willing. She was like, you know what? As long as she's going to be okay and everyone I love is going to be okay, I'm willing to die. And, you know, that's Mel being Mel, because for all her judgment and stuff, she is a hero as well. And that's one of the things I do love about the Mel character, which is interesting. You know, it's kind of one of those things where she was willing to, and I did think it was a moment that they chose to have Ruby be the one there, and so I do think that means something. I definitely don't think this is the last we've seen of Ruby. It was just interesting that she was there, but I don't know. I mean, maybe if anyone has seen any tweets from the writers or anything, if they plan on exploring her and Ruby a bit more. It was kind of interesting that, you know, Ruby had a granddaughter and all the other stuff. So, you know, perhaps she moved on and everything. So, yeah, I think that was interesting. I think there's potential. I just think that maybe it's the bias of us knowing a lot more of Abigail and knowing more of what could potentially be, and us not knowing enough about Ruby yet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know enough about Ruby. And I think that's, you know, I think that's the issue here with me and seeing what kind of relationship they can have. I mean, we get that they have chemistry and they slept together and stuff like that, but it's like, okay, but what's their dynamic? You know, and y'all know what I'm talking about because y'all are shippers. Y'all know what I mean when I talk about a ship's dynamic, right? When, you know, and we'll get to the beautiful ship of Hasty. With Hasty, it's this idea of two passionate people who are logical and they're good and they're ready to sacrifice each other. One, he loves her brains, but he also loves her beauty. She loves the comfort he gives her of security, right? With, you know, Jordan and Maggie, whatever that's that really strong mutual I love you, this is sweet kind of dynamic, right? With the potential of Mel and Abigail, it's this kind of, we'll argue and then we'll fall into making love right afterwards in the midst of an argument kind of thing, right? And I just don't know the dynamic between Mel and Ruby enough to see if it's something I want to root for, I guess. You know what I mean? I guess that's my question. And Amanda is saying there's so much potential with Ruby. It helps Mel to see that magic isn't necessarily perfect, which brings about growth in Mel. Jayla saying you can adopt kids or use a fertility bank to have children. Oh, no, I totally agree with that. I just figured, you know, okay, so I guess they're thinking that maybe she didn't move on. We don't know. I just feel like she started a family of some way. But it's true. She could have stayed a single mother and, you know, basically had children. So that's also an option. So are y'all saying to me that Ruby just didn't move on after her and Mel dated for 2 to 3 weeks? Y'all really trying to tell me that? That for 50 years she never got with nobody else? That it was already an epic love story? Come on. No. Like she got with somebody, you know.
Yeah, she had somebody.
She started some kind of, you know, situation, I think. And Robert is saying, sorry, but that scene felt forced with Ruby. Carmelita is saying, yeah, that's true. We know nothing of Ruby.
So maybe start, if they might bring Ruby into it somehow, explain it, because after this, you have to see who survived and everything. So Ruby survived, so you gotta see where it's going. They're gonna go with that.
Yeah. Blue Wolf is saying, I'm all right with Abigail turning to the dark side. It makes sense to go with her character. Catastrophe, thanks for joining us. Catastrophe is saying it sounded like it was more of a tribute to someone she once loved who saved the community, and what Ruby was saying. Yeah, but I do think she probably moved on in some kind of way. In some kind of way. So Blue Wolf is saying, I think Ruby had kids the old-fashioned way. I mean, we don't know. I mean, all I'm saying is that, that it would be hard to believe she hadn't never moved on just because her and Mel had dated for a couple of weeks. Jayla saying, if you want drama and angst, I'd rather Jada return. Oh yeah, I love that ship. I was quite mad when Jada bounced. I mean, that was my ship for Mel. I was like, here you have someone who kind of went on a rebellious side. And I guess that's what I mean. I feel like Mel needs a partner who kind of has a rebellious side to them. Jada had a rebellious side. Jada was kind of like, I'm going to do what I got to do. I'm powerful. And I feel like with Abigail, you have, if she's not completely straight up demon, you have aspects of that. Someone who can give Mel tit for tat in that regard. You get what I'm saying? And I haven't seen that with Ruby yet with her. I feel like Mel's the kind of character that needs that kind of person to spar with. That person that has a strong will of their own. And I'm not seeing that with Ruby, but I'm fine with anybody who comes along who can give that. So I guess we'll see. Okay, so y'all, all right, so that was Mel and Abby, Mel and Ruby. So now we have Maggie and Jordan, Jorgie, for those who love Jorgie. What did you think of their dynamic today, Ma? In the episode, I thought we were gonna get a kiss. We didn't get a kiss. We didn't get a kiss from nobody. That was weird. But maybe, with the current situation in the world, maybe they protocols. But did you think we were gonna get a kiss with Jordan and Maggie?
I was kind of shocked. I thought she was leaning. What she said, the stars or something like that? She saw the stars and just jumped away from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was sweet at that moment, at that time.
Yeah.
I didn't see, Do
you think they could be more than friends?
I think so, but I don't think she's going to allow that because she don't want nothing to happen to them.
I definitely think with Jordan and Maggie, y'all, we're gonna get slow burn. I don't see them kissing or anything for most of this season. I think this is gonna be slow burn. I think we might be getting what we're getting or what we had with Harry and Macy last season, where it was just kind of this tiptoeing around each other, not really admitting what they feel. I do think Maggie has feelings for Jordan, and Jordan definitely has feelings for Maggie. I just feel like they're definitely doing this slow burn. And it goes back to what was said earlier, where Maggie might not really want to get too close to anyone again. Yeah. And this may be something she has to come out of her shell about, given the situation. But I definitely think this is a slow burn with them. Blue Wolf is saying Maggie friend zone Jordan. Definitely. She definitely friend zone. She definitely said, I love your friendship. And she walked out, and Jordan is like, okay, and that may be what she does. But, we all know what happens in TV shows when the girl really likes the guy, and then she said, I want to be friends. And then some other girl comes around, although I don't know what happened to Jordan's girlfriend, but some other girl comes around, and then suddenly she's realizing, maybe I don't like the fact that you're hanging out with somebody else. And I hope it kind of doesn't go that kind of predictable way, but I feel like, there is definitely something where Maggie is running away from her feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amanda is saying Maggie needs to grow on her own more, but she eventually is going to be with Jordan. I agree with that. I felt like my issue with Maggie and Parker, although they have Maggie and Parker had great chemistry. And I guess that makes sense because I think the two of them are together in real life, the actors of Maggie and Parker at the moment. But I felt like they had great chemistry. But the problem with the plot line was that they rushed into them being this epic romance. It's like Maggie was a freshman, she's 18, and suddenly she's in this what we're supposed to believe is this epic romance between two people. And it just didn't feel natural to me that they rushed into being as epic as they were. Like, to me, Harry and Macy are epic. because of everything they go through, who they are and things like that. But it's more subtle. And I felt like we were told to believe that Maggie and Parker was this epic true love forever and ever way too quickly, and it wasn't built. And I wonder if the writers are kind of going the opposite direction, where we're like, maybe we rushed that too quickly. Let's build Maggie and Jordan up to be an epic, you really want this to happen. But we're going to wait until, and then it's going to be such a wonderful payoff for everybody. Maybe that's the route they're trying to go. Stephanie is saying, I really like Joggy. I don't like a slow burn because Parker effed her. Yeah, definitely. I think there's going to be a slow burn because she has to get over Parker. You don't get over what they made us believe was some epic kind of relationship, And so that's, she has to, that was something. And then we also saw Jordan getting to know Maggie's past, as Kat is saying, Catastrophe is saying in the chat, we got to see Jordan seeing who Maggie was and still thinking she's such a great person, which I really thought was great. Jayla is saying Parker and Maggie were a low grade Cole and Phoebe. I didn't like them, but they do have chemistry. That's true, right? I think everyone felt that this, I think when I saw it happen, I was like, oh, this must be their Cole and Phoebe of this version of Charmed. And that's fine. But it was kind of like I said, I felt like they rushed it and they were telling us it was so epic before it needed to be epic. Amanda saying Maggie and Parker felt like a great first serious relationship, while Joggy is an adult relationship. Yeah. And I think that's what we're getting with this slow burn of Maggie growing as a person. Although I hope that it doesn't turn into a thing where she keeps denying herself, Jordan. If she wants them, I don't hope it's not this thing where I have to stay away from you just because. People can grow separately, even though they're together. And I don't feel like we need to purport this idea that you have to be single in order to really grow on your own, as though once you become in a relationship, you become a half of a person or something. Because I don't adhere to that kind of thought process. So I hope it's not this thing where she just feels like she has to keep staying away from him. Because I also think that's going to get old after a while. O'Dane is saying Jordan will definitely be with Maggie, but he will take more time, but he is going to always be there for her. I agree. Damien is saying Maggie and Parker started like boom and ended like boom. It wasn't strong, just passionate. Exactly. They very much, it was like, this shooting star, just kind of there and then you miss it kind of a thing. And, it didn't last as long as it could have. But I definitely see potential for Maggie and Jordan. I don't think they're going to keep them completely friend zoned. I think it's going to grow. I think we're just all going to be frustrated for some time. Kind of like how we were when we were pushing for Harry and Macy. When we all saw the chemistry there and we had to deal with Macy and Galvin for longer than I cared to. And hopefully we don't have to wait too long, but I feel like it's going to be worth the wait for them too. I really love their episode together. They're just so sweet. They're just so sweet together. It's really nice. Okay, so y'all, you've been waiting for it probably. Hasty, Macy, and Harry. Harry wanted to take her to Paris. It was so sweet. What did you think? I felt like I wasn't feeling them last episode. I mean, I always am feeling Hasty, but I was feeling them less than I usually do last episode, just because they both seemed out of character. Like Harry was being a little too aggressive towards Macy, and Macy was being a little too, I don't know, just kind of super focused on them. So I don't know. I felt like, what did you think of them this episode, Ma? Do you feel like they kind of redeemed it?
No, I didn't really feel it this time. I mean, it was good how they was talking and everything, but I really didn't really understand where they was going with that right there. What
do you mean?
When he said, "Let me just dance with you."
Yeah, it was a beautiful moment. Yeah, you just wanted them to have sex on the beach.
No, I did. No, I didn't. I don't know. I just wasn't feeling them too that. Even though she said we have to wait till the tide go before she can get the thing, right? I said, okay. So they're gonna dance for a while, right?
Yeah, it was beautiful. Oh, you're being pessimistic. Okay. Well, I liked it. I loved the moment where Macy was like, we'd find each other. Harry's like, we just found each other. We just got together. And Macy's like, well, I'll find you. We'll find each other in whatever lifetime. And I thought that was kind of epic of them. This subtle kind of, no matter what, in some lifetime, we'll be together. And I really like that. I mean, I don't think it was really focused on their romance, but we got that aspect of it. We got that beautiful kind of, kind of relationship between them. And I really thought that was beautiful. I would have preferred a passionate kiss, but also I know maybe filming restrictions. I don't know. I also thought they were going to make love on the beach, but I knew that time was ticking. So the dancing.
I knew they was not going to make love.
Well, it's an 8:00 show, so I knew they weren't probably going to give us that. But, although Riverdale kids are always screwing each other, Riverdale students and stuff, but whatever, on Riverdale, and they're like 19, but we need to get a passionate love thing with them too eventually, but
eventually it's gonna come.
Yeah, but it was interesting, and I also love the fact that Harry was willing to, he wanted to sacrifice himself. He was like, let me do it. And then Macy was like, no, you can't. And I thought that was beautiful that the two of them were willing to kind of sacrifice for each other.
Mm-hmm.
I did think it was a little bit of a rewrite where Macy was like, you've already helped me. I was so isolated. And then you brought me through. And I was like, well, him and your sisters, he wasn't the only reason why you weren't isolated anymore. I was like, they kind of, Jayla is saying Macy and Galvin were like watching paint dry. They really were. In the first season. Amanda saying, agreed. Last episode was rough. This episode had me full on sobbing during the beach scene. I really loved the beach scene. It was beautiful. I think they're a beautiful couple. I think they're a mature, adult, beautiful couple, And Catastrophe saying they slowed the pace with them this episode. They felt like they were connecting more. Exactly. I felt like there was a big disconnect last episode. And this episode, I felt like they were more on the same page. O'Dane sounding like my mom right now and saying, yeah, I don't feel them anymore, Hasty. Oh, no, y'all, what's going on? Why y'all gonna have to tell me? Let me know in the chat in the comments the reasoning for this, because I still love it. I feel like we're gonna get more of this in season 3, more of hopefully what we got this episode, not last.
Well, I hope they do it, because I just didn't feel them this Sunday.
Well, Damien is saying yes, he wanted to take Macy to Paris. And I was like, yes, Paris, so beautiful. And, he's like, I wanted to take you to Paris. And, I think also people have to realize, technically, they just got together. I mean, I feel like they just became totally committed to each other, and they haven't had a breather yet. So they haven't had a chance to become a couple, because every time there's been something going on that they have to save the world about. And I feel like once they get and even now, this season ended with none of them being able to touch each other. And so it's like, here's another thing keeping them apart. No, it was so weird. I'm like, oh my gosh, when is Macy and Harry going to be able to kind of be a couple for a little bit and have those moments? And it's like, here we are not getting that now going into season 3. So I wasn't really feeling that, but I did love the moment with them during this episode. I just was kind of like, man, we just got this. And, he was going to take her to Paris. That would have been nice. And now he can't even can't even be in the same, they can't even hold hands. Kamalita saying, hey, man, I'm sorry, not feeling them right now. Jayla said, we got what we love about Hasty in this episode. They were sweet, funny, and heartbreaking. Stephanie saying, well, Macy just told him that she was going to die. So exactly. He was like, what are they going to do? Jayla saying the dance on the beach was a beautiful callback to their backyard dance. Yeah, I love their dynamic. Catastrophe is saying it was the heat of the moment. We could die, so let's dance situation. But they still need to work on their relationship, and Harry still needs to apologize. Yes, I still think there's things they have to hash out with their relationship. I guess to me, I just want to give them a little bit more space because of the fact that they just started together, and we can't expect them to be this perfect reunion just yet. And I kind of like the fact that they got stuff to work out, that they're not just a perfect union as soon as they get together kind of thing. Yeah, Stephanie, like I was saying, Stephanie saying, I do wish she mentioned her sisters in that moment. Exactly. I was like, well, it wasn't just Harry that brought you out of your shell. It was your sisters for a bit. Harry was off, with that other woman for a while too. So it was like, it wasn't just him, and the world does keep interrupting them. So
in a sense, they're sounding like in the old one, they sound like Piper and Leo.
In a sense, I think in the initial sense, but I think we're going to get something more dynamic. I had hoped, that's why I kind of wanted Macy to keep her demon powers, because I was hoping we'd get a little bit of that play into it. So I think that'll be interesting. Jed is asking, why do you think that energy was keeping them away? Exactly. That's the big question going into the rest of season 3, that they can't touch each other, right? And I don't, I'm hoping that the explanation isn't something convoluted, to just kind of go with protocol for our current real world situation, that it actually like, I get it, they can't touch. That'd be an easy way for people to be 6 feet apart or more.
But you have to understand, the power of 3 have to touch to do certain things.
They have to be the same thing.
In a way, they didn't play that way in this one. I have noticed that they always had to be together to do certain things, but sometimes they did their own individual spells and everything. It wasn't the power of 3.
Yeah, but now they have to be together for the power of 3. So it's going to be...
Yeah, that's going to be kind of hard to do. And then if anything comes towards their way, it's going to be kind of hard for them to stop them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I think hopefully it won't be the whole season that they're away from each other, but hopefully they work that out. Hopefully it's like a 1 or 2 episode thing, because we don't need a whole season of this we can't touch kind of a thing. But it may play a big part in the majority of the season. So I guess, that'll be interesting. Tell me y'all in the chat if you're feeling this little plot point that they can't touch, or do you think it's contrived with the current kind of way the real world is, that they just kind of tack that on? Let me know in the chat and also in the replay. Also, if you have not liked this video already, please give it a thumbs up. And if you also haven't subscribed yet, please do. What are you waiting for? We love slicing into storytelling here, so it would be great for you to subscribe, so you're the first to know when I post my videos. Catastrophe is saying, being apart will be an interesting way to explore the relationship and will allow for some emotional growth. I kind of think so, but I also think, haven't they been apart for most of season 2? If we're talking about Hasty, they need some time together. I feel like, to work some stuff out. You know what I mean? Truth for Phillies is saying, I ain't like how Macy ain't mentioning her sisters. Agreed. I do agree with that. Them writers got to stop leaving out her sisters. I agree. It was kind of
weird. The power of 3. How can you not forget? How can you not mention your sister?
It's kind of weird, because they did this last episode too, where Macy had such tunnel vision about Harry that it was kind of like, hey, you two all right? Please orb me in, because I got to go save my man. And it was like, well, what, girl? Like, your sisters are there. It's a little weird how they do that.
Yeah,
it's a little weird how they do that. And Catastrophe saying, if it's not solved in 1 or 2 episodes, then I'll start getting mad. Yeah, I feel like this not touching thing can't go on for the whole season. I'm not going to like that. I think that's going to be weird.
I think so.
Kamali is saying, that is the famous virus that we thought it was the Ash one, but no, it's the electric virus, like Corona got an upgrade or something. Yeah, who knows how they're going to go about this. I do feel like it came in a little bit with filming protocols, but I guess we'll see how that works. Okay, so for the question, Mom, who were you feeling the most this episode, and who were you not feeling the most this episode? Let us know in the chat and also in the replay, y'all. Same question. Give us your answers.
Well, I told you I wasn't really feeling Macy.
Well, that was shit.
Yeah, but you mean feeling like what in
the character? The character. Which character did you like the most this episode?
I liked the Abby this time.
Abigail. Okay.
I really felt, even though she was, she was so sarcastic, but I think I felt with her, like I said, when she read the letter, that after she, came back, she read the letter and everything, and you felt her sadness in there. And I guess that's when she decided that, I felt like right then that she decided, well, I can do without them.
Yeah.
But I felt, in a way, I felt for her.
Who weren't you feeling the most?
Huh?
Who weren't you liking the most this episode?
Like I said, it was It was Harry and man.
But that's a ship. Who character wise, you weren't liking either of them this episode.
At that moment, I mean, okay, I know it was time for they was trying to get together and everything, but this was the time to be like, okay, get this over with. Let's get the thing.
No, Macy could die. You really gonna rush off?
I understand that Macy could die, but come on, y'all needed, it took. Okay, you had to find out where y'all put it. You had to go and get the mine thing. And then she's sitting there trying to figure out where did I go to put this. Then they're walking on the beach,
which was beautiful. You're a hater right now. You're a hater right now.
Doing all that. I'm like, okay.
She had to pick. Oh, you're a hater.
But at this moment in time, if the world, if I'm sick and everything.
Maggie had time to watch the stars.
That's what I'm saying. All of them had these moments. I'm like, okay, I understand y'all moments here, but
they could have been rushing to their death, Ma. You ain't gonna take a moment to smell the flowers.
Well, damn it, you was gonna die anyway, so you might just get that stuff and come back and do what you have to do.
You try to act like you would have been practical. All right. My mom, the practical person right now.
The word to say something that you think is important. Okay. And I know all y'all took your little moments. It
was beautiful.
Maggie and Jordan took the moment looking at the dipper and everything.
Meanwhile, people are dying.
Mel had her moment looking at Ruby, being older, and then
them on the beach.
I'm like, okay, now how much time
we got stuff to do?
How much time they got her doing this?
You a hater.
Okay, I'm a hater, but I just want to feel what your time and my time. I mean, with me, I'm gonna wait a minute, we're gonna die here. But if we don't get it, the tree gonna die. But we're gonna take time out to look at the stars.
Yes, they might die.
Look at Ruby.
All right. We're gonna move on. Blue Whoop is saying I was feeling Macy the most, and I was not feeling Abigail so much. Aww. And Amanda is saying feeling the most Macy, feeling the least Abby. Damien is saying they dragged the Hasty thing for too long. Being apart doesn't make sense, and among the sisters too. Exactly. I just felt like with Hasty, they don't need to be apart that long. It's weird. And Carmelita is saying, feeling the most Abby because with all the haters, she needs some love. And I'm here, give it.
I love her. I felt for her this Sunday. I really did.
And then less fave, none. I like them all this episode. Catastrophe is saying, liked Hasty bonding over maths and science. Yes. Disliked Abigail's transformation to a tree deer. Yes,
it was a tree deer, wasn't it?
Yes. O'Dane is saying, my best character this episode, Macy, are you saying Macy? She reminded me of her mom Marisol with the sacrifice she wanted to save her sister. Oh, Mel was your favorite character this episode. Yeah, there was a good, Mel was your favorite character this episode, right? Jayla, not mom being a Hasty hater. I don't know what's going on. I brought her on this show, y'all. She lied to me. She said she was she just wanted to be on this show. That's how she got in the door. I said, you got to love Hasty to be on this camera.
No, you told me I had my opinion.
All right, fine.
Okay.
She's my mama, y'all. I can't kick her off.
You can't kick me off. Okay.
Damien is saying, felt Abby the least. I'm done with the frenemy thing. Okay. Yeah, and Damien is saying, Stephanie is saying, but you need small moments to keep the characters grounded. Yeah, I feel like if they're just running from one catastrophe to the next, then you don't get those moments to see what they're thinking and feeling. So I felt like we needed that. Although I know
I think that too. They needed that moment before they all came through with the coins and everything. I knew I saw that. I understood that part.
Yeah.
If we had to be real on this, damn it, you're pushing time here.
Yes, people are dying. We got it. Okay, so my favorite characters at this episode, I'm gonna say Macy. Yeah, you do. Macy was my favorite character this episode because I was not pleased at all with how she was acting last episode, but I felt like this episode she was a lot more grounded. She was willing to be the one to sacrifice herself. She knew it. She was ready to take that burden. She was also still very much connected with Harry, and I love that about them. And she was her science geeky self, and I really appreciated that as well. And she was just on her A game this one in terms of figuring stuff out. And with least favorite character, I'm going to say none too. I didn't really have anyone I totally disliked this episode or anything like that. So there wasn't anyone that was getting on my nerves. Not even Abigail. I thought Abigail was someone who needed a little love this episode too. So I was really feeling everyone. It was really just a well-rounded episode, to be honest. It was very much ensemble. We got a little bit of all of them, and it really works. And I think it shows where you can have a show with 3 character leads and you can showcase all of them, because some shows don't do that as well, right? Some shows, they have an ensemble cast and you only see 1 or 2 people getting the most growth and the most time. And so there's a few things that are lopsided. Yeah, there's a few things that still need some work, like Mel's love life needs to get some development there, because it's been kind of at a stop since season 1. But there's a lot there, I think, to work with. And so I really enjoyed this episode. In terms of predictions, Mon, do you have any predictions for this? And also let us know in the chat and also in the comments, because if we finalize before you get to it, give us in the comments your theories for season 3, and I want to read it for the rest of season 3. I want to read it in our next showcase, so to see who might be closest to it, so we can put it in our minds. But Ma, what are your predictions for the rest of season 3, or at least the next episode?
My prediction is that, in the sense that there's going to be a reason why they can't touch at the moment, because of what they did with the tree and everything, and that somehow it's going to work out that they're going to realize that they can't touch. It's that moment of not feeling each other, in a sense. Especially with, with Hasty.
Yeah. Jed is asking, do you think the Guardian might know why they can't touch each other? Well, I hope the Guardian goes saved, and hopefully they can go to the Guardian and ask. So the Guardian might put them on a mission to figure out why they can't touch. And I guess we'll see that develop, Jed, but hopefully it does. Catastrophe is saying, I'm excited to see the girls blossoming outside of the magical world for a bit. Yeah, same. I think that'd be good. And, I think we'll see that. O'Dane is saying Macy is going to get pregnant with Harry's baby. Maybe. I don't think they need to rush it, though, but it would be interesting. I want to see them as a relationship first.
I'm telling you.
My thing is, I want to see them as a relationship first before they have to become parents. I would like to see that first. Lovely is saying, I love the Harry and Macy scenes. Them working together and dancing was cute. Same. I also agree. Macy doing science to figure out the electric thing. Carmelita enjoyed that. Carmelita saying Harry hovering around Macy and struggling with killing Jimmy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Carmelita saying this show never does this correctly. That's why this episode was so good. They all had good screen time. All of them got something good to do. They did. Yeah, Damien saying, I'm glad to know that they are returning to the career passions this season. I wonder if Harry will go back to being a woman study professor. That might be interesting if he starts teaching again, a women's study professor. Yeah, no hasty kids till season 5. We don't need to rush into Macy. She should become a great scientist first or something. That was also a passion of hers. I don't want her, having a kid just yet, because that's another thing, because we all know what happens when people have kids in dark fantasy shows. Something's gonna happen. Some kid's gonna be part of a prophecy. They're gonna have to protect them. It's a whole thing, and it's a whole other can of worms. And we just don't need that right now. That's my thing with it.
Yeah, they could push that back some more.
Yeah, my prediction is, like people are saying, them getting back to their passions and things like that. I think we're gonna see them kind of on their own a little bit, kind of like how we saw this episode, them kind of figuring things out separated from each other. And I think we'll see growth on that part. And I'm looking forward to that. I don't have an idea who the big bad is. I don't think the big bad this season will be Abigail, although I do think she'll play a part in it. So I do think Abigail's going to play a part. I just don't think she's going to be the big bad this season. I don't know who the big bad is going to be. They have to eventually reveal themselves, but sometimes that doesn't happen until a few episodes into the season. So we'll see where that goes. And it seems like the chat is also good on not having any hasty babies at the moment. Although I think we all are in agreement that it will probably eventually happen. Yeah. And, Stephanie is saying, I really wasn't feeling Jimmy this episode. Yeah, I feel but my reason for not feeling Jimmy was because I think they wrote him out of character. But, J-Lo, of course, J-Lo wants Abigail to be the big bad because you want her to get vanquished, J-Lo. We know your motivations. We know. But let us know in the chat, y'all, and also in the replay comments. Once again, thank you so much for joining us for this talk. We missed y'all last week. It's always great to slice into storytelling with you all. Like I said, if you haven't already, given a thumbs up to this video or subscribe, please do so. And it, it helps other people be able to see the video and a chance to engage with our conversation and stuff, which we love to do. And stay safe out there. I know it's cold. I know my mom's, they're getting maybe an ice storm soon over there and things. So stay warm and cozy wherever you are, and happy Monday. And I hope you all have a great rest of your week. And, give some more comments in the comment section on your theories. Till next time, y'all.
Bye.
Keep it creepy.